We carry on with the first law, the law of conservation of mass. In the previous video, we had seen what the law states, what it states, whether how mass can neither be created nor destroyed. Now, how do we do the experimental verification to understand the truth about this law? The verification of this law can be done in different ways. There are different things that we can do. One of the experiments is a precipitation reaction experiment that was done by Landolt, and that is Landolt. Landolt. So Landolt. So that's why this experiment is called Landol's experiment. Okay. So Landolt, he took solutions of silver nitrate and sodium chloride in two limbs of an H-shaped tube. This is an H-shaped tube. And in those two limbs of the H-shaped tube, he took the different solutions, AgNO3, that is silver nitrate, NaCl, sodium chloride solutions. Okay. Then the tube was sealed and he weighed it. Before the reaction started, he weighed it. So the entire tube was weighed, and after the weight was taken, again, he mixed the tube properly, made the tube upside down and allowed the solutions of sodium chloride and AgNO3, that is silver nitrate, to be mixed thoroughly. And once the reaction occurred with the formation of a white precipitate of silver chloride. Okay, so silver chloride precipitate was formed. This is a precipitate, and we had another product that was NaNO3. Now, no heat was evolved or absorbed during this reaction, and when the reaction was completed, he took that same tube without changing anything, the sealed tube, he again weighed it. And when the weight was again taken, it was found that the weight was the same as that taken before the reaction. So this is one way that there can be a verification of the first law. Another thing, very simple, we can verify that matter undergoes a physical change, but still the weight will remain the same. That is, we take a small piece of ice and you take it in a small corked conical flask or something, and then you weigh the flask, you heat it gently and melt the ice. The ice will turn to water. When ice turns to water, what will happen? Immediately, if we again take the flask and weigh it, we will find that there is no change in the weight, but the physical state has changed from solid to liquid state. Another experiment that you can do in studying is that matter does undergo chemical changes but still the law will be applicable. For example, you take, instead of silver nitrate, we could have heated mercuric oxide, HgO. When mercuric oxide, that is HgO, is heated, what are the products formed? The products formed is Hg, and along with Hg you have oxygen liberated. Now again, when we take the entire weight of that, suppose it's 100 grams of mercuric oxide I had taken, and I heated it in a closed tube. And after I heated it in a closed tube, I found that about somewhere around 92.67 grams of mercury I got, and somewhere around 7.45 grams of oxygen I got. So when I took the weight of the product and the reactant, we found it to be the same, which means that this particular law can be verified for reactions, and as a result we can say that it is an universally accepted fact that matter can neither be created nor destroyed. That's the first law. Okay, now what happens to this law now? Now we know Einstein gave his theory of relativity, a very, very important theory. It changed the entire physical world. Right? So he gave the theory of relativity where he said E is equal to mc square. What is E is equal to mc square? That means that matter and mass, that is mass and energy, could be interconvertible. And this is, we all know, this is called the Einstein's equation, where c is the velocity of light. Okay, take it as 3 into 10 to the power 10 centimeter per second. And we see that during this type of reaction, where mass and energy is interconvertible, in this type, that is mainly for your nuclear reactions, okay, where then in this here the law of conservation of mass does not apply. So law of conservation of mass applies to almost all ordinary chemical reactions till date. For all physical changes till date, there is no change. It has been accepted. But only for such reactions where there is an interconvertibility of mass and energy, we can say that this particular law is not valid, and therefore we need to maybe slightly modify it. The modified law is there, but then it's not as a part of your study, but still I'll just tell it. The modified law of conservation of mass and energy states that the sum total of mass and energy of a system remains constant. This you will study later, and I think most probably in physics you'll be studying about it. So that's the modified law of conservation. Okay, so but what we are going to carry forward would be the law of conservation of mass, and this is what I've said is the verification for that. Okay, now you will most probably not be asked to verify or write down experiments or anything. You will be asked to solve a few numericals. So let us see how we solve some numericals based on this particular law. I have a few numericals solved for you, after which I'll be giving you certain questions, and you will be doing it in your notebook, in your copy or something. Okay, so let us check the first one. The first question: 10 grams of calcium carbonate produces 3.8 grams of carbon dioxide and 6.2 grams of calcium oxide. Prove the law of conservation. So what is actually happening? I can make it over here, heating. Okay. So calcium carbonate is heated. On heating, it gave me calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. How much calcium carbonate was taken in the initial state? I had 10 grams of calcium carbonate. And how much did it produce? It produced 3.8 grams of carbon dioxide and 6.2 grams of calcium oxide. Now, according to this law, mass of the reactant must be equal to the mass of the product, which means mass of the reactant is 10 grams. What is the mass of the product? 36.2 plus 3.8, that is again 10. So obviously the law is proved. A simple question. I think class 7, 8 may be able to do this. A simple, very, very simple question on the law of conservation. Let us look at another question. A thin strip of iron with a mass of 15.5 gram is placed in a solution containing 21 gram of copper 2 sulfate, and copper begins to form. After some time, the reaction stops as all copper sulfate has reacted. The iron strip is found to have a mass of 8.5 gram. The mass of copper formed is found to be 8.60 grams. What mass of iron 2 sulfate has been formed in the reaction? Take some time, read the question. I have iron, mass is given 15.5 grams. It is placed in a solution containing what? Copper sulfate. How much of copper sulfate? 21 gram of copper sulfate. And of course, iron reacts with copper sulfate, copper is being formed. After some time, the reaction stops. Why? Because the entire copper sulfate has reacted. And the iron strip is found to have a mass of 8. It was earlier what? 15.5. Now it is 8.5. And the mass of copper formed is found to be 8.60. So what is the mass of iron sulfate that has been formed in the reaction? Have you seen it? Have you written down the question? Okay. Now, let us see how to solve this. The initial mass of iron, to find out the mass of iron, I take the initial mass, what was given? 15.5 grams. And what was the final mass of iron that was there, thin strip remaining? That was 8.5. So how much has reacted? 7 grams. So how much mass of iron? 7 grams. Mass of copper sulfate taken was 21 grams. And how much of copper sulfate was remaining? After the reaction, how much copper was formed? That is 8.6 gram. So according to the law of conservation, now before that, what could be the reaction here? I had FeSO4, okay, and I had I had iron Fe, and I had copper sulfate. After the reaction took place, I have copper and FeSO4. This is the reaction. Now, so the mass of iron, okay, this mass plus the mass of copper sulfate must be equal to the mass of copper and the mass of ferrous sulfate, that is iron to sulfate. What was the mass of iron that we had calculated? 7 grams. How much of copper sulfate was taken? 21. So 7 plus 21 must be equal to 8.6 is the mass of copper, and I have to find out the mass of ferrous sulfate. So let it be X. So 8.6 plus X must be equal to 7 plus 21. So X, when you calculate, it comes out to be 19.4 grams. So we are using the law of conservation of mass to find out the mass of the unknown compound in that particular reaction. Okay. Now I have a few questions for you. I'll read out the questions once, and then you please, I'll read it out very slowly, write it down and solve these questions. The first question: in a reaction, 5.3 gram of sodium carbonate reacted with 6 gram of ethanoic acid, CH3COOH. The products were 2.2 gram of carbon dioxide, 0.9 gram of water, and 8.2 gram of sodium ethanoate, sodium acetate, CH3COONA. Show that these observations are in agreement with the law of conservation of mass. Another question, second question. When 4.2 gram of sodium bicarbonate are added to a solution of acetic acid weighing 10 gram, it is observed that 2.2 gram of carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. The residue left is found to weigh 12 gram. Show that these observations are in agreement with the law of conservation of mass. The third question. 6.3 gram sodium bicarbonate is added to 15 gram acetic acid solution. Carbon dioxide formed is allowed to escape. The weight of the solution left is 18 gram. What is the mass of carbon dioxide formed? So solve these questions in a notebook, which I'll be checking it later. Okay, and then we'll go on to the next law in the next video. Thank you.